Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Garden State Growing, and today I think I have a very exciting video, if not for you, but at least for me. What have you been doing with those Meyer lemon trees and that key lime? And that is what I am about to show you, but then I'm going to go and I'm going to show you this amazing recipe that I think is going to just blow your mind. Key lime and my Meyer lemon, and I'm going to show you them both. Now I do have a little concern about my key lime. The leaves are looking a lot yellowish. They don't have any bug damage. I need to find out what's going on with it. Is it overwatering, underwatering, not enough nutrition, too much nutrition? So I'm just upset about how yellow they are instead of just being lush green. But now that being said, here we have my Meyer lemon tree, and as you can see, it is budding and I'm getting excited. It started budding immediately as I brought it into the house. It does look like one of these buds is ready to flower. A paintbrush, and I'm gonna start to try to pollinate all of these, because I've seen this stage before and they just drop their buds and we didn't get anything out of it. But now that it's protected inside the house, let's see what happens. I may have to add a little artificial light. So this recipe has me reminiscing. It has me reminiscing back to when I first started watching gardening videos about 5 years ago, and there was this gentleman from Australia, Mark from Self-Sufficient Me, and he made Meyer lemon marmalade basically, and I was so jealous. He started me on my path to finally growing a lemon tree, a Meyer lemon tree myself, which you just saw on this video. But what I am showing you here in this basket was, my wife started picking up these tiny little mandarins, and I guess in some circles they could be considered, what are they, cuties for kids. They are super easy to peel and super sweet, and every time I eat them, I eat like 15 of them, which is so bad. But I'm so in love with these. So just because I didn't get Meyer lemons this year doesn't mean it's going to stop me from making this video. I'm going to use these super sweet, super easy to peel little mandarins. Now I'm going to take a break right now and I'm going to cut up all of these mandarins, and we'll see what we have after that. What I have here is those sliced mandarins that I sliced up yesterday. I put them in that pot, covered them with water. I reduced them down just a little bit for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then I let them sit overnight and cool. Now today is the next day and we're at the next step. But I have been spending the last 2 hours bringing this pot of mandarins back up to a slow simmer. It did take 2 hours because I want to bring it up nice and slow on a medium to low heat. There are already a lot of sugars going on in that pot, and I did not want to burn them if I didn't mix them frequently enough. I did want to show you, it does make your life a little bit easier if you have a flat bottom spatula like this. And now I need to weigh this mixture. I hope the scale can handle. Alright, only to find out my scale will not handle that much weight, so we're gonna have to improvise. Nothing serious. So I need another bowl. Alright, so I had to do it a couple times to make sure my math was right because I didn't want to screw this up. So what I really came out to was about 21 pounds, which was close to my first observation and measurements. But the second time I did it, I came out to 16 pounds, and that seems a lot different. Well, that's because I forgot to subtract the weight of the pot from the total, which dropped me down from about 21.5 pounds to about 16.5 pounds. So that's what I'm gonna go with right now. And luckily enough, I just so happen to have about 16.5 pounds, actually 20 pounds of sugar. So I'm gonna start adding the sugar at this point. Yes, it is a jelly, it is a jam, it is a marmalade, it is full of sugar. Could you do this with sugar alternatives? I'm sure you could. I don't know how, but I'm sure you could. So I've got the pot back on the stove. It's on like a medium heat. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start adding the sugar right now. And I'm just gonna go right ahead and trust the fact that this manufacturer is selling me 4 pounds of sugar. So I'm gonna start adding the sugar here. I do have this on a medium heat. Start to boil a little quicker than I like, so I'm going to let that. I'm gonna turn down the heat a little bit. And I'm gonna add some of mixture. Now, here's the thing. Is the pot big enough to hold all of these mandarins and all of this sugar? Because boy, that does seem like a lot. So what was I just saying about pot size? Yeah, obviously mine wasn't big enough, so I had to bring out Big Bertha. Now normally this is my pressure canner, but today I'm just going to be using it as a cooking vessel, and then after I jar all of these up, I will use it as my water bath. So let me transfer this over. All right, that's much better now that I have transferred over to this big pot. I can add my additional 12 pounds of sugar. Yeah, that's about right. I could weigh it, but I'm not going to. You want to give this a really good mix, get all of that sugar incorporated. You don't want it sinking to the bottom. So now this just needs to simmer for about, safely say, 2 hours for this amount right now. So that is where we're gonna come back and we're gonna add an equally important ingredient to this dish. And I'll tell you why I did what I did opposed to what I usually can do. I know it's confusing, but I'll see you in just like a sec. Okay, so the recipe has been boiling down for about an hour, or simmering down, I should say. It took me almost the entire hour just to get it to a point where it would simmer and boil, since I transferred it into this gigantic pot and added all that sugar. There's not really much to see. I will show you a close-up if I can. They have reduced from about here, which is about 1.5 inches down, since I put them in this larger pot. And we're getting ready to move on to the next step, which is going to be adding the pectin. All right, so what I have here is about 16 to 17 grams of commercially bought pectin. It was really cheap. I bought it on Amazon. But why am I using this pectin? Well, you need it to jelly up or form. But fortunately enough for me, the mandarins that I'm using are a high pectin fruit, just like apples are. And they have a tendency to set by themselves. It's just a combination of the citric acid, the sugars, the heat. It will make it solidify and turn into a jelly. I'm gonna let it reduce down for about probably another hour. In that hour, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna clean up a little bit, and I'm gonna get my jars that have been sanitizing in my sink. I'm gonna get them lined up and ready to start being canned. Alright, so I'm going to lay that puppy to rest for about another hour. Now, traditionally, if I was making a marmalade from an orange or a lemon, I do not suggest limes. The rind on a lime does not, in my opinion, candy well, or marmalade well, or jam well, and doesn't taste very, it gets very bitter. But if you're doing another citrus fruit and you do have seeds, what I normally do was You save all the seeds, and then you just cover them with enough water that they're covered, put them in the refrigerator overnight. So while this is sitting and resting overnight, you can have those seeds releasing their pectin into that water, and what you'll notice is it'll be like a jelly. And then you can strain that out and add that pectin back to your dish instead of using a commercially bought pectin. I had to, because the mandarins I used today had almost zero. I think there was like 1 or 2 seeds per 16 pounds of mandarins that I put in there. So I wasn't going to get my pectin that way, even though just from the natural rind, the orange, the citrus, the heat, the natural sugars, the cane sugar that I added to it would probably make it jelly up. That's why I didn't go too heavy and do like 2 grams per pound. So we're going to let that go for another hour. By the time I come back, we're going to be canning. Alright, so I've added the pectin. It's been boiling down for about another half hour. I need at least another good half hour to maybe possibly an hour to get it to where it's at. I'm going to show you how I test this jam to see if it's ready. What I just do is I put a spoonful on a cold plate that's either been in my refrigerator or, in my case, out on my back deck, because I don't have a refrigerator right now. It is on order. It's been on order for a month. It's still on order for another month. So I have this dollop of jam that I put there, and as you can see, it still runs very quickly. That's what I thought. So I did a little taste test of it. That's some marmalade to write home about. I tell you, it almost darn near tastes like a honey. I mean, oh, that's so good. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to let this reduce down for at least another half hour, maybe 45 minutes, and we'll check it again. Alright guys, so it is now been an hour later, actually, well, 45 minutes, and I have the consistency I want. It does run a little bit, but really slow. And if I take my finger and I just break it through, I get a really nice jelly consistency. Oh, that's good. So now I'm just going to jar these up. I have these smaller jars that are here. And looks like 1 ladle full is all I will fit into these tiny little jars. I believe these are my 2-ounce jars. And I'm just going to put on the lid. And top it a little bit finger tight. And set them aside for when I give them their water bath. Be careful, these jars are hot, and I'll see you in a bit when we're ready to can these. Alright guys, so I'm here. It's Thanksgiving morning. I'm trying to finish up these marmalades. The last thing I have to do is I have to just give them a water bath. What is a water bath? Well, that's just submerging them in a pot of water at least 1 inch above the lid. I suggest you not putting these jars directly on the bottom of your pot, whatever pot you're going to use. If you don't have one of those raised shelves that you could put like I do in mine, you can always take empty lids, just these rings, and place them at the bottom to help support your jars from off the bottom. Now this is a pressure canner, but I'm not using it for that. I'm using it just for the water bath today. There's a lot of different techniques that go into water bathing, so I would recommend that if you really want to learn more about it, you go and just do a YouTube search for water bathing. There's a lot of people say the times are like, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on your altitude. It does come into play, believe it or not. But also there is a lot of people that say, well, little jars only need 5 minutes. My tiny little 2-ounce jars are only going to take 5 minutes. These ones that are a little bit bigger might take 7 minutes, and then these ones that are really big might take 10 to 15. So I'm going to call it safe at 10 and pull them out. I've had these going for about 10 minutes now. I'm going to pull them out, put them on a towel, because I do not want to cold shock them. If I just put them down on my cold countertop, I run the risk of a cold shock running through the glass and actually exploding my jars of stickiness all over my kitchen, and I do not want that to happen. So I'm going to just pull these jars and I'm going to reload it. I don't think I really need to show you that. It's pretty straightforward. You just pick up the jar, put it on a towel, let it dry. In the end, I will bring you back and we'll put our final touches on these marmalades, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with them.